As the cruiser circled round, Travis asked, more to change the subject than from interest, "What's that, a barn for tumbleweeds?" He pointed to an open-air building on the land left when streets crossed in the center of town. Deputy Klein laughed, as if he thought the question was a joke. "That's our town square. The structure in the middle was going to be a grand gazebo, but the project kind of got dropped. Maybe some committee will pick it back up in the spring." Travis sat up straighter. "Anyone ever tell you that the town square is a triangle?" "Nope." The deputy answered too quickly to be telling the truth. Travis had a feeling Klein had heard the question one too many times. He was doing like folks do to anyone too young to vote when they don't want to answer a question, kind of like parents do when the world falls apart and they tell you you're lucky. Yeah, Travis thought he was real lucky. Mom was half dead, Dad would probably never get out of jail this time, and he had to go live with 3 crazy old uncles not even one woman thought worth marrying. 3 weeks to Christmas, and all he wanted was a bus ticket out of his life. Chapter 2. Wes Whitman watched Maria Ann Davis move silently back and forth from the farm pickup parked just outside the side door to her display in his general store. Every Wednesday, she restocked the shelves with Davis' delightful jams and jellies, and every Wednesday he kept an eye on her from 10 feet away, standing ready to step in and help if needed, but never smothering her. The small woman couldn't be much into her 30s, and there was a calculated grace about her movements. She counted her steps, touched familiar points along her path, made sure everything was in place before she carried in each crate. Maria Ann Davis might be blind, but she used her other senses and her brain. Watching her move was poetry in motion, he thought, and then laughed at himself for being almost romantic. Wes made sure everything was exactly the same as it had been the week before. Nothing was ever in the aisle to block her path. In the silence of the early morning, she stalked and he watched. She might be petite, but she was strong. She always dressed in jeans and a blue plaid shirt with the sleeves rolled up to her elbows, nothing fancy, never showy, but pretty just the same, with her long hair tied back at the base of her neck and the dark curls drifting down to her waist. At first, he had tried too hard to help. Then he realized Maria Ann didn't need any help. She needed to be alone in the stillness of the dawn hours before any customers came in. If he left her to her work, the shelves would be stocked, all the labels facing forward, all in order. Every week he tried to talk to her. He liked her shy ways and the grace in her slender movements. He'd probably like her voice, too, if he ever heard it in more than a whisper. She was too shy, too beautiful for the likes of him. Folks said if she hadn't been blinded in a car wreck 5 years ago, she would have been a great chef in Dallas now. She'd never be interested in him, no matter how hard he tried. Nothing would ever be between them but a business relationship. He had to be content to stand back and watch her, never getting in her way, never talking too much for fear of distracting her. Now and then over the years, he had offered to help her, and she always shook her head and whispered no. But if he just stood and waited, she'd eventually finish, turn in his direction, and say his name. He'd step forward and offer his arm. Maria's small hand would glide across the air until she brushed his starched shirt. Then, with her fingers resting on his arm, he'd direct her to his office, where they'd settle up for last week's sales. Wes knew she could have found her way to his office without trouble, but they both seemed to like this simple ritual each week. In an odd way, he felt almost like a knight escorting a lady fair. He suspected after more than 4 years he still frightened her, but had no idea why. After all, the only person shyer than her was him. Nice day.